Welcome to the AGORACOM.com CEO interviews, where we feature great undiscovered small cap companies to the small cap investment community.
Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm Al O'Grady, and with us today is the CEO of UC Resources, Mr. Jim Voisin. UC Resources is very active with its exploration in the McFalls Lake area in the James Bay lowlands, and it also has interest in Mexico, where it is very close to becoming a producer of precious metals. We'll be talking about how those projects are coming along very shortly. UC Resources trades on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol UC. Mr. Voisin, welcome to the program.
Hi, Al. Always a pleasure to talk to you.
Jim, let's start with an update of the projects that you have on the go right now. Up in McFalls Lake in the James Bay lowlands, what's the latest?
We've recently completed a series of 4 holes, 2 on the Hook Formation and 2 on the Lightning Bolt Formation. They were completed very successfully, and core is being shipped to the assay lab for assay.
Okay. Where do you go from here? What's going to be happening in the next few months?
We're starting with freeze-up at the moment, so the freeze-up is totally up to Mother Nature as to how long it takes. But we'll wait now until we have 14 inches of ice on McFalls Lake, and the crews will remobilize back to the site. We'll do a ground geophysical survey on the location of hole number 4, as well as doing some geophysical groundwork, gravity work on block 1, and see if we can identify some of the chromite targets that we hope that will materialize up there.
Okay. Working up north, when you say freeze up, I mean, that could be September, October. Obviously, you know, the winter season is so much longer. When does the actual freeze up time period, when does that actually start up there?
Well, it's already started, but it's sporadic. You know, it'll freeze up and then it'll thaw a bit. It'll freeze up, it'll thaw. It's still up to Mother Nature, but it can happen at any time that the ice starts forming on the lake, to the point that the planes won't land on pontoons anymore. And once that starts, it's helicopter in, helicopter out, which is extremely, extremely expensive compared to float plane. And it lasts as long as it takes to build up enough ice to safely land an aircraft back on the ice.
Let's get into warmer climates. Down in Mexico, the La Yesca project. Jim, what's the latest on that one?
The La Yesca project has moved along extremely rapidly for its remote location. La Yesca is some 4.5 hours outside of Guadalajara, which is the closest major center. The plant is currently full of water, and the staff is being trained on wet runs to prepare for full production. Obviously,
you've got water issues. You have to train the staff. But give us the short-term horizon. What do you see happening there in the next 3 to 6 months?
The tailings containment pond is presently under construction. We hope to have it completed in 6 or 8 weeks. We really won't know exactly how long it's going to take us until we scrape off the overburden and find out how much rock we have to deal with. Under ideal conditions, it's going to be 6 weeks. And the moment that the rubber liner is laid down and tested in the tailings containment pond, we are ready to start that mill. Full production. Okay.
Let's do some math at some of your operations. According to the figures that were given to me, 2 grams of gold and 220 grams of silver, throughput of 200 tons per day. As I said, those are the numbers that were given to me. But I guess the question to you, Jim, what are the recovery rates? What does it cost? And how long does it take to get a payback on that?
The recovery rates are calculated on an in-house test basis. So we've done literally hundreds and hundreds of tests to see what our recovery rate would be. But unfortunately, because it's done by our own in-house staff, it's not compliant. So we really can't publish what our expected recovery rates are going to be. As far as payback goes, we've invested approximately $2 million in the upgrading, the total rebuild, actually, of this mill in Alaska, with possibly a little more money to spend on it out of profits to upgrade the facility as we go along. Payback, of course, is based on the price of the metal and the recovery rate that we achieve, but I think we could probably classify it as a payback quoted in months rather than in years would be a safe estimation.
Okay, so obviously a very, very short-term horizon on that.
If it wasn't worthwhile doing, we sure wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about financing a little bit further. I understand that you had secured a loan with Mexican Mining Trust. Would you care to comment on that any further?
The Mexican, basically, business development organization is called FIFOMI. FIFOMI will lend money to people that are developing and creating jobs in Mexico for Mexicans. They are extremely thorough, very good guys to deal with when you do start to deal with them, but they are extremely thorough. And therefore there's a very few corporations that actually sneak through the cracks to get their funding. We were one of the very fortunate few that came to terms with FIFOMI, and we're thrilled that we got the loan. It's not a walk off the street and fill out the application type financing. They left no rock unturned, and I'm sure that if they weren't confident that they were going to get their money back, they wouldn't have given us the money in the first place.
Right. I mean, that bodes very, very well for your company, given the state of the markets right now and the credit crunch and so forth. I think that bodes very well for your company and your business plan in general, doesn't it?
I truly believe so. It wasn't an easy task. It took the effort of everyone on the team to make it happen, and we were pretty pleased.
Okay, let's take this one step further. An interesting point about all this, Jim, I understand you're actually putting your money where your mouth is. I understand you've actually bought more shares personally. From a personal financial standpoint, you actually see a lot of value here, don't you?
I do. When I saw it trading down, I decided that I would take a hit on a number of other equities that I owned and pile into more UC. I presently own about 1.6 million shares. About 1.51% of the company is owned by myself, so I consider myself a major shareholder, so I better start listening to myself.
Okay. Now, speaking of shareholders and the markets in general, how have you guys been able to weather these challenging times in the markets?
Well, nobody's having any fun right now. But I think that if you look at the basics of any corporation, and if the basics are strong, if the fundamentals are there, when this thing does rebound, I think, number one, that people that are in production making money are going to rebound much quicker than the pure explorationists in the market. And we're going to be one of the chosen few in a very short time.
Jim, what would you say it is about UC Resources that sets you apart from the guy down the street?
I think the component that sets UC apart from the rest of the companies is that we're a junior exploration company with a production asset, or a soon-to-production asset. So effectively, in very short order, we'll be self-sustaining financially. Along the way, there may come time that we will have to go to the market for more funds as necessary. But the cash flow from Alaska, I'm thinking, will give us funds to explore in both Canada and Mexico at a fairly significant rate, and I think there's a lot of blue sky in both zones.
Jim, that's it as far as the formal questions are concerned, but as always, I leave my guest with the last word. Any final thoughts, anything that you'd like to add right now?
I'd like to thank our shareholders for their support. I do receive many, many calls from numerous shareholders. They're all very supportive, very helpful. We're always willing to listen to suggestions and comments from our shareholders, and we'll just put our nose back to the grindstone and keep grinding on. Okay. On that note, Jim, I want to thank you very much for your time and sharing your thoughts with us about UC Resources. Excellent. Thanks very much, Al. Okay. And UC Resources trades on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol UC. And you've been listening to Jim Voisin, CEO of UC Resources, on today's Small Cap Show, produced by AGORACOM. I'm Al O'Grady. Thanks for joining us.